Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger, my friends. It is time. We have the Guilty Gear Strive Season 2 patch notes. And in this video, we're gonna, basically go over them for all the characters in the game. Now, the patch is not out just yet, so I can't show you the changes. That'll be another video to show the actual changes in game. And just, I guess, as a bit of a heads up, a bit of warning, some of the language is unclear on some of these changes. So some things I'm just going to have to speculate, and then we'll have to find out when the patch is actually live, just FYI. Now, as always, I'll have timestamps on every character, so skip forward to whatever makes sense to you. You know, drop a like, that'd be great as well. And also check the video description below. I'll have a link to the patch notes. I'll flash them on screen where appropriate, but if you want to just view the whole document, it'll be there in the video description. That all said, let's get to it, and let's start with universal changes. Now, for universal changes, let's start with a showstopper, right? Roman cancels. So Roman cancels have been changed across the board. So now Roman cancel says it triggers a slowdown effect when canceling into a normal or a special move. So, obviously enough, you do Roman, you get the slowdown effect, or you cancel into red Roman, you get the slowdown effect, right? But if you do normal, Roman, normal, you don't get nothing. And now that's going to change. So if you do normal, Roman, cancel into normal, Roman, cancel into a, whatever it is, right? You will now get that slowdown effect that you see here. And that's a big deal. That means potentially all new combo routes for the entirety of the cast. That's a fundamentally major change, and it's gonna change how the game works. Now, just a couple things to note here. Slowdown is only triggered when in proximity to the opponent, right? So no Roman canceling projectiles into another projectile and you slow them down from full screen or any nonsense like that. And it also says now causes the tension gauge to gradually deplete. Now, here's the funny thing about that. That's making me think, if you do, your regular Roman, any Roman cancel, right? It's 50% of your meter. That's the rule of the game. But if it says it causes it to gradually deplete, perhaps this means if you do Roman cancels in this specific way, it might cost less tension. This is one of those deals where I think we're going to have to see it in-game, but that is the current wording on it. For blue and purple Roman cancels specifically, it says made the timing for canceling into a normal or a special faster. So as it stands, I guess they're saying the window maybe is a little bit tighter. It's a little difficult to read, once again. Honestly, in my opinion, the windows are kind of already tight as it is, so I hope it's not that. But yeah, so that's basically the long and short of it. Roman cancels are going to get crazy. And as one more final, the plain old Jane red Roman cancel, right? Pops you up and does, what it's going to do normally. It no longer increases damage scaling. So if you use the red Roman cancel on combo and you popped them up, you would get advanced damage scaling. That was one of the benefits before doing quick canceling, is you were not subject to that advanced scaling. Your combos would do more damage on quick cancels, right? So now, as far as this red, no longer applies any type of scaling when the shockwave hits. So it does have to explode them upwards, right? So now, that means all your old combos that use it are just going to do plain up more damage. Now, this is a quality life change, but burst. As you all know, you rise up in the air, right? And then you, burst the enemy away. So a big change to burst here is when activated at a certain height in the air, the speed the character rises up now is reduced. Basically, you can burst lower to the ground when you're higher up. I don't know how many times you've been in this situation. I've been a million times where I burst. Oh, it's a bad burst. I rose myself up, burst missed, and now I'm going to die, right? So in those situations where you thought you had the right idea, hopefully it will reward you with a burst hit now. So basically, it's better for people like me who have really bad sense of timing on bursts. There's definitely a lot of bug fixes as well, so I'm just going to kind of gloss over those. But certain things like overdrives. So overdrives, you can now cancel the beginning of a special move into an overdrive. So the big thing here is not I don't think there's going to be much tech other than maybe you might be able to carry cancel a super move just to get a little bit more forward momentum. It's mostly just to help inputs and just situations where you're mashing a bit. And if you did the correct input for your overdrive and you did the super accident, or rather a special accidentally, then it'll just cancel the startup into the super. So that's basically to help with some sloppy inputs. But on that note here, directly following, some overdrives are now affected by prior movement, such as dash momentum. So speaking specifically on, say, special moves, right? So Special moves that cancel into an overdrive might give it that carry cancel, that forward extra momentum. So that could be some fun gimmicks. Also, if you go into your menus here, you go into your button settings, there's all sorts of fun macros. You know, macro your dash, well, it was one of the best things the game ever did, right? Roaming cancel, burst, all that kind of stuff. And now you can macro faultless defense. So you can just put it on a button. You don't got to hold 2 buttons anymore. So if that was ever an issue for you, there you go. And also for like odd situations, if you ever found yourself like inputs getting eaten because of how faultless defense works, then you can just assign to a button, you're good to go. Another major change of the game is counters. So if you know anything about Guilty Gear Strive, even if you don't play the game, you know this, right? It's a meme counter, all that kind of stuff, right? So now all punches and kicks can now cause the counter hit time slowdown, time dilation effect. Stand kicks, crouch kicks, stand punch, crouch punch, even the jumps, they all cause the slowdown effect. So it is now universal across the board. It is going to be a big deal because not only does it have like, you know, just utility, right? That means all sorts of new combo routes, like all. This is another major change. It's not character specific, but lots of characters are going to heavily benefit from it. Even like Giovanna, right? Like the old dash into kick is a classic Giovanna thing. And now you might get rewarded with counter hit slowdown if you tag someone, right? So now that means like, oh, I hit you? Like I can hit confirm. I don't got to go into a special anymore. I can just poke the day away. And if I get that time slowdown effect, I'll just DP and get like whatever, right? This is going to be a very, very, very big deal for a lot of characters. Keeping on with universal changes that are a very, very, very big deal for a lot of characters, we now have standing kick and close slash, specifically universal across the board, are able to be dash canceled. So someone like Giovanna, once again here, Giovanna, she could already do that, right? Dash cancel her kicks, dash cancel close S, right? But someone like Testament, you know, not so much, right? But now everyone can do it. Well, except for Nagoriyuki and Potemkin, because they do not have dashes, so they don't get to join the new dash revolution, right? But this was a trait, only a couple characters could do this. Only a small handful of characters could do this, right? And now, effectively, minus Nagoriyuki and Potemkin, everyone can do this. So people like Testament is going to be a big deal. And for the people who already had it, well, let everyone else drink from the same water you're drinking from, right? So big, big, big change. So the way Roman cancels work universally is going to be a big change. The way counter hits on like lights work, going to be a big change. And the way everyone can dash cancel basic attacks now is also going to be a very big change. So lots of big universal changes is what I'm trying to hammer home here. We're going to get into the character specific stuff too, don't worry, right? But this is a big deal for the majority of the cast. Now, Soul has some interesting changes. First up here, and thank God for it, stand kick is getting nerfed. Now, the nerfs does not affect how fast it starts up, 3 frames. So effectively, it's whatever, because the speed is the real reason you abuse this move. But decreased attack level, meaning it should clash less with any other given move. Increased base scaling, meaning if you use it in combos, be it as a starter or later in the line of the combo, it'll do less overall damage, your combo compared to before. Now it depletes more risk level, and increase combo scaling and increase combo blowback scaling on combos with stand kick as the starter, meaning basically your juggle potential, as I understand it, should be less. So that's a nerf. But we get some buffs, right? So crouching kick now has less knockback, meaning the enemy will be closer to you when you do it. And combine this with the counter hit changes for lights. This means you get a counter hit light, all of a sudden you might be able to go into like close stand S into full combo, so that is definitely a buff. Bar stand S, we all know this one, right? We all know this move. It just does less damage, which is fair enough, I guess. The damage to me wasn't the issue with this move and its ignorance, right? So there you go. And also forward S, another incredibly ignorant move, also does just a little bit less damage. Didn't put the exact damage numbers, I'm sorry, so you have to see that when the patch is live, but still a little bit less damage. Forward heavy slash, this guy here, buff and a nerf. So has more recovery, so if you whiff it, better watch out. But expanded the hitbox upwards, meaning it should tag people from higher up. So potentially use it as combo ender or just like catch people very low to the ground. Also says decreased knockback, and it has barely any knockback as it currently stands. So I'm assuming they just fall in place with the wording. His sweep, now we already had one of the better sweeps in the game, and it's getting expanded in one aspect anyways, as the frontal hitbox is being expanded forward. So ideally, it should just be able to hit from further away. Now also expanded the hurt box, but that's fair enough, right? Also increased horizontal blowback distance. So I think they just get knocked back just a little bit further. That's the way I'm reading it. A lot of the jumping normals are changing here. So jump punch now launches higher, and so does jump kick, by the way. And decreased horizontal blowback distance. I'm choosing to read that as like mid-screen. You can kind of get like old classic Guilty Gear, like just mash jab combos. Because as it currently stands, like it's not so good because it just throws the enemy like way the F back, right? So with decreased blowback distance, you should be able just to mash punch all day long. Also jump dust. So jump dust reduced frontal hurt box, so it's harder to hit them. And now causes less wall break value gain, meaning you do this in a combo, it's less likely to break the wall, so you can sneak more of them in, or use this and sneak more other hits in. So maybe the return of the dust loop? I guess we'll find out. His grounded throw has less recovery, meaning basically he has more frame advantage on you when he throws you with his basic throw. His feint on Gunflame now recovers faster, so that's nice, that's good. Volcanic Vipers are getting a big buff. So first up here, add a hitbox directly after the ascent begins. Basically, like, hitbox appears faster and also remains throughout. The hitbox is also expanded during the ascent, meaning it's bigger while going up, and reduced the hurt box after the invincibility wears out, because it is invincible at the very beginning. It does state here, though, when blocked mid-air, the opponent now lands more quickly than before. So, the one thing is, do like, you know, light DP or whatever, or slash DP rather, and they block, it's kind of like a zero-sum, like, you know, you're not going to get punished for it. Like, a lot of times you can even be plus. So I think that's just to make that just a little bit more fair. Aerial Bandit Bringer now has less startup. So that's going to be fun to deal with. Oh my god. Looking forward to that one, fighting Soul players. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. And Night Raid Vortex. This is specifically the held versions, not just like the tap versions. So the held version now launches the opponent higher with less knockback. So basically, they're just going to be directly on top of you with a much bigger juggle, meaning your combo potential is probably going to go through the roof with it. That is a very nice buff. Fafnir Aid and Nerf. So the lower hitbox, the part of the move that hits lower to the ground, basically has been elevated up. So there might be some people who could like low profile it. Like say Testament Crouching Kick is a good example. I don't know, right? But that's, I would think, is the intended idea, is now some people, but not everyone. Like Potemkin's not going to low profile, right? But some people could. And finally, Tyrant Rave here. So the super now has a bit more startup and a bit more recovery. So I have to wait to see how that means in actual gameplay, because they don't post the numbers of how much it's been changed, but still, there you go. So Soul, you know, some buffs, some nerfs. I'm very confident in saying he's still going to be a very good character. Kai, so some very interesting changes here. So first up here, Crouch Kick, just like Soul, reduced knockback. So I'm assuming that's to help with the new counter hit combos that'll be possible. Now, 4K, his command normal here, is now going to be special cancelable. That's kind of a big deal. Like, you can be a dum-dum and just go for like stun edges right away, or the charge version, or like whatever you want. World's your oyster. It's special cancelable now. It was already a very solid poke. It's just going to be really good. That's just going to be really good. A lot of changes to the normals here. So Close Stand S has reduced recovery. So it means effectively the frame data will change. He'll have more advantage on hit and be a little bit less negative on block. Stand Far S, reduced frontal hurt box, meaning it's basically going to be a little harder to poke out. Because, you know, as it stands, like, it doesn't win the poke wars against anything with like any kind of disjointed hitbox, right? So, and it probably still won't, but maybe you'll die just a little bit less. Much the same here. Crouching S also reduced the hurt box. So just hopefully you get your sword stepped on and you get hurt a little bit less. Jump punch kicks just like Soul. Ideally, this means, you know, old style mash combos from other Guilty Gears will now work in this game. Other air normals like Jump Heavy Slash also says launches the opponent higher, so it should be better for uses in air juggles. I think a lot of air combos are going to be a lot more prevalent come this patch. Another big change, Jump D. So Jump D can now be jump canceled. So you could jump D and then basically double jump, or you can jump D and now also air dash cancel it. So that's pretty big. And once again, air combos, right? So that should be pretty nice. And it can also be canceled into special moves. So you could like do this and then go for like an air stun edge or like whatever, like pretty good. And the changes, man, they don't stop there now, do they? Because it now launches the opponent on grounded hit. Yes, it's a juggle starter now. That's crazy. And if you happen to do it in the air, well, then it launches them higher than it used to, right? So Jump D's got a whole new lease on life is what I'm trying to tell you here. And because why not, if you're doing a dust, it now goes into a finisher as well. So just better across the board. Universal throw puts people less far away, you recover quicker, like it's just going to help with your pressure. And everyone knows, Kai is a grappler, right? Full screen run throw, that's the grappler special, so that'll be nice for him. Now here's a nerf, I guess, but Shock State now ends if Kai takes some damage, which is fair enough. Like that's how it usually works in most fighting games. Like if you have a status effect and you get bopped, the status effect goes away. That's all right. That's all right. Now for stun edges, air stun edges have less recovery, which is good. It means you're more incentivized to basically spam them, right? And all versions of stun edge on the ground too, it says usage restriction now removed after a set amount of time passes. Now what I think this is, if you try to input another stun edge like immediately after it goes away, like on hit or leaves the screen or whatever, you would just get like a slash instead, right? So now you should be able to properly just spam them. That is my understanding of the writing. Could be wrong though. Now Fodra Arc. So the attack level is decreased in the first half of the initial active frames, so just basically less likely to clash, but it has reduced recovery. Now it's not saying where, like on whiff or on hit, because that could change the frame data, and that would be a very big deal. So we'll see, I guess, but that could be a very, very big deal. Also on that note here, Dire Clap, this guy here, the big old slash, says less recovery. So if this changes the frame data on the move, that can be also a very, very big deal. And we've been here before, but we're going to keep trying it again and again and again until it works. But how about some Dragon Install buffs? So for Dragon Install, you now have increased movement speed on forward movement, back movement, and dash. So Kai just becomes faster. Like, I don't know the speed, we haven't seen it yet, but like maybe like Golden Freezer or something, right? And also the move itself, like the actual explosion of the move, now knocks you back less, and also has decreased recovery, so ideally, once again, recovers quicker, so better frame advantage on block. So they're going to keep buffing this move till we're finally happy with it, right? And Kai being able to become a speed demon on top of everything else, and once again, you know, he's got all these buffs to his stun edges, right? And like, the aerial versions are better, so maybe he just becomes like zoning god or something now, I don't know, right? But if he's faster, that's better, and eventually people will be happy with it. Now, May, well, I'll let you be the judge on this one here. So, some things here, stand punch. Reduced attack startup, so I'm assuming comes out at least one frame faster, right? That's great. Stand kick, reduce the attack startup. So once again, I'm assuming comes out one frame faster. And also, she's going to be one of the better recipients of the lights counter hitting change, because her stand kick has such ridiculous range, right? And now every single stand kick has the potential to, like, at the very least, like, lead into Mr. Dolphin on counter hit or something like that. So that's going to be really, really good. Now, crouch kick. Same deal, reduce knockback like everyone else. Also just a buff to the counter hits. Now, here's a big one. Down forward kick. The slide is now recoverable. It is no longer a hard knockdown. So that means, well, not that you get no pressure, but no longer can you just run on them and just, they got to wake up into whatever you want to throw out, right? So that's going to be, well, that's just a strict nerf. That's just a strict nerf. Let's get real. Now, also on the nerf, standing heavy slash, really ignorant button. Less damage. Didn't say how much, but less damage, and expanded the frontal hurt box during recovery. Basically, what this means is if you whiff, it's going to be a lot easier for people to just counter poke you out of it. You know, whiff punish you, which is good. That's very fair. The move was a little too strong as it was. Now, also crouching heavy slash now launches the opponent lower. So it's still good at all the things going to be good in. That's the only change, right? But you might not be able to get the same amount of combo potential you had before, depending on the angles you hit at. So you might have to settle for less in terms of combos. Her sweep's also getting better. Expanded hitbox. That's good. That's a buff for the sweep. Now here's another nerf. Mr. Dolphin. This is horizontal version. All versions do less damage. So it is what it is. But you now have an alternate mode. You can now hold the button. So the more you hold it, the more the active frames increase. Meaning, ideally, you should take the slash dolphin, and if you hold the button, you can go literally full screen. That's what I'm assuming. The longer you hold the button, the further you go. Also, it says here, maintains your momentum after landing on whiff. So that means, as far as I'm reading it, if you whiff it, May will like literally slide across the screen on whiff. So that'll be an interesting change if that's how it is, how I'm reading it. So that's really good. And of course, Mr. Dolphin, vertical, all versions. Now this one does not have nerf damage, but movement speed increases when you hold the button. So that also is now modular. Reduced recovery on hit. That means you recover quicker on hit. That's good. That'll help with combos. And no longer hits the opponent when more than the set distance apart, which I'm not sure. That might mean at like the very tail end of the move it can no longer hit. That one, the wording's a little odd. Also, specifically, the heavy version of the vertical Mr. Dolphin. If you hit the enemy, now it says here, when the descending part of the attack hits, so hitting the enemy like on the way down specifically, the opponent will now bounce higher. So I'm assuming this is specifically for juggle combos, because obviously, as it currently stands, they do not bounce when you hit them. And also the wonderful and dynamic Mr. Goshigawara. So if the opponent blocks midair, they'll land quicker, which is a change on a couple other supers. So overall, I guess it all depends on how the dolphin holds work out. Otherwise, I would say this is, for the most part, a net nerf. Now, the held dolphin stuff could be really cool, so I guess it's a wait-and-see kind of deal. Now, Axl. Axl got buffed. Every character I play loses really bad to Axl, so I'm never been a fan of this character. But yeah, let's talk about the big one. Crouch P. Expanded frontal hitbox, meaning it now hits from further away. So if you see here, like, it's basically going through Testament's leg, right? The hitbox does not match the animation. So now, ideally, the hitbox does match the animation. I know it's frustrating in games where, like, it looks like your move's, like, just going through the enemy, right? So it probably now more matches the animation correctly. So it's already a fairly good poke anyways, but now it's going to be even better. His 6P now launches. Yeah, you heard me right. Now launches on grounded hit. And if you use in a combo, launches even higher. So this being a launcher, that's going to be interesting to see. Like, it doesn't even need counter hit, just launches on regular hit. That's crazy. Crouch kick, same like everyone else. Decreased knockback, just to help with counter hit combos that are going to exist now. Forward kick. This guy here now has a wall bounce effect. I'm assuming this is in juggles and not grounded, right? But now has a wall bounce effect. So if you're doing like whatever crazy Axl combos and you do this, they'll bounce off the wall, come land towards you. That's huge. Now, obviously, patch isn't live, so I can't showcase you examples, but that's a big, big, big deal. Close S, less recovery, big buff. Far S, less recovery, also a big buff. Also, Far S has an expanded hitbox as well. So this is also going to be much better as a poke. Forward heavy slash, increased knockback, so they're pushed further away from you if it connects. And when you know it, Axl likes you being far away, right? Winter Mantis is full screen unblockable. Now can hit opponents while they're taking damage, meaning you can combo into it, which is absolutely crazy. Also got a hitbox buff, which is also really good. Now here's the question mark. No longer hits an opponent when they're more than a set distance apart. So either like when you're really close or when you're really far. I'm not sure which one this means, but there's going to be distances where it can't hit anymore, which is very... have to wait and see on that, I guess. But overall, being able to use it in combos is definitely a big buff. Air Snail! Big buffs, again, reduced attack startup, meaning it comes out even faster than it currently does. And it comes out pretty fast, in my opinion. Bounces the opponent higher. So as it currently stands, like it is, well, it bounces and like spikes them to the ground, right? So it might actually give a ground bounce effect, because even if you get them in the air, like it doesn't spike them, right? Or rather, it does spike them, it doesn't bounce them. So maybe more combo ability. That's another wait and see. Now, Rainwater. That's this guy here. Discourse will go back S. So a lot of changes here. Expanded upper hitbox, so better hitbox. Now launches the opponent higher yet again. It does launch, just they fall to the ground to the point where like you can't really do anything, right? So we'll see how that works. Now it is easier to wall break with it. So if you're using combos or just in neutral, increase like the wall break value. Increase combo blowback scaling, so using combo should do less damage. But reduce combo blowback scaling on combos where it's the starter. So that's interesting. And also reduce base damage scaling. So that means it'll do overall more damage in combos too. So pretty decent, pretty decent. Axl Bomber has an input change, so it is no longer a Dragon Punch motion. It is now a Fireball motion, so just down, down, forward, forward, and heavy slash. So that's interesting, but now there is an actual nerf here. Now launches the opponent less than previously when used multiple times on the combo. So if you got like those weird Bomber Loop time stop combos, they might not be as effective anymore. Overall, definitely big buffs for Axl. So if you're an Axl player, there you go. And I'm probably going to hate fighting this guy even more. Now for Chipp. So first thing here, just like pretty much everyone else, crouch kick, reduce knockback. So you'll get all these new crouch kick counter hit combos when that patch goes live, and all your lights can do counter hit time stop. That's great. Close S, reduce recovery. So recovers quicker, therefore ideally more frame advantage, that kind of stuff. Now far standing S, the big old poke, reduced hurtbox during attack startup. So basically it's harder to hit him while he's doing it. So there might be situations basically where you get tagged less, counter hit less. So ideally that's all for the best. Now the Alpha Blades. So it says no longer hits an opponent when more than a set distance apart. That one's going to be wait and see. I can't really tell what that's supposed to mean, honestly. Basically there might be certain situations where it no longer hits when it might have before. It's hard to tell just from the text. Now specifically Air Alpha Blade horizontal. It says now collision detection activates earlier, so might be able to hit just a couple frames quicker. That's the way I'm reading it. Or at the very least, it'll be more reliable in situations where it could hit. Now, Air Alpha Blade, the diagonal versions here. So some changes. So first he lands a greater distance forward than before. So basically he's just further out. Hopefully for him, a little bit safer maybe. Now also decreased recovery, less recovery. So the frame data should change on this, ideally. Now launches the opponent higher on grounded hit. So maybe we'll get like a quick poke after the fact, not too sure. Increases wall break gain value, so it'll be easier to break walls using it in combos. So interesting changes. Chipp is one of the things I think we're gonna have to like see how it works in motion, right? But interesting changes. Gamma Blade, some interesting changes. Now launches the opponent higher on grounded hit. Considering it doesn't launch them at all on grounded hit, I'm guessing that means it juggles? Maybe? And then it directly says, now launches the opponent lower. So, I don't know. Like, I'll show you. Read the patch notes yourself. Launches them higher, launches them lower. You tell me. You tell me, man. I don't know. Like I said at the beginning of the video, some of these patch notes are a little hard to suss out. So, please forgive me. This is a good example of that. Now, Senshu. So Senshu is the third hit of the Rekka, the overhead kick that bops you and bounces you, right? So reduce attack startup. So that means it now comes out faster than it did before, and also reduced recovery. So once again here, ideally changing the frame data. Increased movement speed. So maybe it goes further faster. Also creates less distance with the opponent on hit. As you can see here, like you're knocked back a fair bit in the corner, right? So you should land more in place now, making it much easier so you don't get like dash up and do buttons. You should be able to stay in place while doing it. If you let it rock though, it's no longer a hard knockdown. They can roll out. So ideally get your combos from it, right? And the actual bounce itself says it's going to be just a little bit lower. It is a very high floaty bounce. So if the move's like actually quicker and safer, I think that's a very fair change. So Chipp ideally mostly buffs. Some of the language on his notes, though, is a little bit suspect. So wait and see on that one. So everyone's boy, Potemkin, some very interesting changes. Some just to his neutral here. So Potemkin, everyone's boy. So Potemkin's got some interesting changes. Some just to his neutral. So stand kick, reduced hurt box. Okay, so just better as a poke. Crouching S, reduce the hurt box. Better as a poke. Standing heavy slash, reduce the hurt box. This is a pretty good poke, I think everyone knows. So yeah, basically your ability to counter poke out Potemkin on some of these buttons is going to be, well, less. And of course, crouch kick, less knockback, get those counter hit combos, let's go. Forward heavy slash, the big double fist, also reduced the hurt box. It reduced the horizontal blowback distance, so maybe they don't get flung full screen anymore. And it says the opponent can no longer recover after be landed on a counter hit, because as it stands, they can currently roll, right? So if it's on a counter hit, it should be a hard knockdown. Because like, as it currently stands, even on counter hit, they still get the roll out, right? So it should be a proper hard knockdown now. So it means in situations like that, like instead of that and you whiff your hammer fall and then just recover, maybe you can be in their face and threaten to grab. That'd be interesting. Add more utility to it for sure. Also, speaking of moves that got reduced hurt boxes, Potemkin Buster. So for whatever reason, this would only really matter like absolute max range of the grab and you're like trying to jab him out or something. But yeah, so now he has less of a hurt box while doing Potemkin Buster. Now in a national tragedy, Mega Fist forward, Mega Fist backward does less damage. So people who are blessed enough to spam Mega Fist, sadly, their efforts will not be rewarded as much. Also, like the forward heavy slash change here, Hammerfall counter hit can no longer be quick rolled, so it'll become a true hard knockdown. Also, Hammerfall can now move forward for further. So once again, in those situations here we talked about before, like where that just missed, ideally it would travel across the entirety of the screen, keeping up with the enemy. FDB, flick that back. So reduced base damage scaling, so it'll do more damage in combos. Also reduce the blowback combo scaling and causes less wall break value gain, meaning basically if you use it in corner combos, you should get more rewarded for your corner combo. You can sneak in an extra couple of hits and do more damage while you're doing it. Garuda Impact, so decreased damage, does less damage. Remove the wall bounce effect. If you use this in juggles, it could wall bounce, so no longer, and added the tumble effect. Basically, this effect here you're seeing. This basically has to do with people like backdashing in the corner. Because currently as it stands, like if you want to backdash in the corner, if you backdash in the corner, you just get blown out, right? And not only do you get blown out, you get wall bounced, and you can like juggle it and go from there. So now, if you backdash in the corner, you'll just get knocked down. Now, here's one of the biggest changes, Gigantic High, so Aegis Reflector, right? So as you know, you shoot out the shield, and if you're awful close, there ain't no shield because boom, he's got blown back. So now, even if the initial hit hits, if you're close, you always get the shield now. The shield always comes out no matter what. Now, you know, damage has been adjusted, they say, probably for the worse, but still, there you go. And it is no longer an invincible reversal. Well, it was only semi-invincible anyways. It was only strike invincible. You could still throw him out of it, so it's kind of whatever, right? But yeah, so the idea here is this. I make you block whatevs, right? Doesn't really matter. And then I cancel into Aegis. And now you block, and now the shield is coming out. And when the shield's coming out, you have to block it. And now, guess dust, guess low, like guess a million things, right? Like basically no matter what, I'm going to hit you with the 50-50. You block the first one, hit you low, and then see, you get bounced up, right? So I can follow up from that. So I could do this, and it won't be a lot of damage, right? But and I can get like a forward heavy slash follow up. Or much the same here. Okay, you block first hit, dust. Aha, you got bounced up, and I can hit you again, right? But the thing is, I'm doing this from far away and then walking up because I have to. Because that's how it currently works. But now I can literally just do anything, make you block anything, super cancel into it, and you have to block all of it. So basically at the cost of a bar, if he's in your face, flip a coin. And like I know, yes, sweep and charge dust are like technically different frame values and you could fuzzy it, but no, you're not for one. And I could just delay the sweep for two. And there's going to be so much like graphics on the screen. Like with this on you, you're not going to see that, you know, uncharged dust, right? So yeah, Potemkin's going to mix you up more now, basically. Like Potemkin already had like weird 50-50 mixes he could do off Garuda and all that kind of stuff with RCs now. But now you can just make it a lot easier, right? So overall for Potemkin, some nerfs, but overall I would say net buff. Now Faust got some stuff. So let's start here. Forward punch. Now launches higher. That's great. Stand kick. Now expanded the hitbox lower, meaning it can now hit people who are, crouching or whatever, lower to the ground. Probably won't be able to, hit other Fausts who himself is crouching because it's so low to the ground. But still, that helps out a lot. Helps the utility of the move. Crouch kick now has less startup, so it starts up quicker. That's great. Close standing S, less recovery. That's great. Far standing S, less recovery. And also reduce the hurt box on it. So he's going to be less likely to get poked out and less likely to get smacked in the gob for whiffing the move. So these are great changes. Crouching S, this is ridiculous, now launches on grounded hit. Launches. So instead of just being this basic move, you can now launch people and get a combo from it. Sure, why not? The stand heavy slash follow-up, this guy here, is no longer rollable. So if you hit the enemy with it and it was a counter hit, it is now a true hard knockdown. Forward heavy slash, the big guy here, now has a stagger effect. So like Garuda impact or something, right? And also on stagger, keep in mind, if you're somehow, closer to the enemy, if it has a stagger effect and depending on how you cancel out or whatever, like say you do like a purple RC or whatever, on stagger, that means you can combo into grabs. The drill, jump down and kick, is now increased damage. That's awesome. Damage is what Faust needs for sure. For mix, moving forward or back, because that changes how he, while he moves, right? So it says change the timing for his movement with forward or back inputs and made it faster. So ideally, this will help you control the momentum better. Also, the direction the enemy will get thrown in now matches the direction he's facing. It can catch in like weird directions and stuff, right? So whatever direction he's facing is the direction you'll go in. Now here's a really big one. The Afro state, which is one of the defining features of this character in this game, the actual explosion of it now is a guard crush. So just like Goldlewis, just like Potemkin, now when that happens, they're guard broken. And what does that mean? Well, it's like usually more blocks on, which is already great. But keep in mind, if you're in a guard break state, you do not get the throw protection that a normal block affects you with, right? So if you happen to be in a situation where, it's going to explode, you don't want to hit a button, right? Because Faust is waiting for you to hit a button, and he's directly on top of you, he could immediately command grab you after the fact. So there's definitely some buffs here for, command grab Faust. And, guard breaks are just good no matter what, but this is just adds to his pressure, basically. Meteors on item toss. Now ground bounce. As it currently stands, it leaves the enemy standing, and it's still really good, right? As it currently stands. But now if it gets hit, if a ground bounces, that means you get combo potential after the fact. So it makes meteors, which is basically the best option anyways, even more deadly. How about more item buffs? The Mini Faust now activates his hitbox immediately on contact with the enemy. So as it currently stands, he'd stomp, get mad, then it would hit. So as it reads, he'll just activate right away and you'll get hit immediately. So that definitely helps with the pressure a lot. The punch and kick versions of Scarecrow both have faster startup, so it's actually more valuable as a mix-up tool. That's good. And now launches up the opponent higher. Now, as it stands, once again, if you hit, it's not much of a launch really, so maybe it will be enough of a launch that you can get something decent off of it. Thrust has less of a hurt box, so less likely to get your scalpel tapped and then you get hurt. Love, that's the air projectile. Love now does more damage. Great. That's good. Specifically the initial hit, it says technically it's a 2-hit combo, right? So the part where it connects on you should now do damage. And also projectile appears now even when you Roman cancel it earlier. So you have to wait before for the projectile to be actually all the way out to Roman cancel it. So now you should be able to touch your head, then Roman cancel, and it'll still come out, which will be, very interesting, right? So good. And final change here, Bone Crushing Excitement. The super has a better hitbox. And also, Faust is now closer to you when the move ends. So ideally, he can just be directly on top of you and then get whatever pressure from there. So Faust definitely got a lot of good buffs. Now, he's gotten a lot of good buffs before and he was still bad before, right? So we'll see, but I'm feeling hopeful. I think the boy might have it. He just might have what he needs this time around. For Millia. Millia definitely could use some buffs, and she's got them. So Crouch Punch. Reduced attack startup, so it should be a frame faster. That's good. Crouch Kick has reduced knockback, so once again, counter hit combos. Now that they have the counter hit time stop, should be a thing. And with less pushback, you know, might get that juicy Crouch Kick into close slash counter hit combo. We'll see, I guess, but that's how it should work. Also for Crouch Kick, also reduce the upper hurt box. Oh, that's nice. Close stand S, reduced recovery, and change the on-hit effect on the second hit. Now that, they didn't say what it's going to be, so I guess we gotta wait and find out for that one. But now here's a fun one, Stand S. She's not exactly a neutral lord, right? So Stand S getting buffed is nice because it has less startup. It comes out quicker than it currently does, and also the hitbox on the move has been expanded. So Millia, like, she'll mix you up 6 ways from Sunday, but against characters with better buttons, she suffers on the ground, and now hopefully she'll be able to compete a little bit better. Stand Heavy Slash has less of a hurt box, so much better for pokes, counter pokes, that kind of stuff. Jump D, so expanded the frontal hitbox, and now launches the opponent on grounded hit. So that's a big deal. So this is now a combo starter on top of having a better hitbox. So play around with that. We'll see how it goes. Millia has increased recovery on successful grounded throw, meaning she is slower to recover, so her options will be less. This is a nerf. For Bad Moon, the last hit now launches the opponent higher. So it might be situations where, like, you can get new combo potential. They don't say how high, but just the final hit now launches higher. Turbo Fall, this guy here, where you come down to the ground real quick while you're in the air. So Turbo Fall has reduced recovery. So as it stands, like, when Millia touches the ground, she can't move right away. Like, I'm holding up right away, and it takes her a split second, right? So now, ideally, it's less. She can recover quicker, and hopefully with that, then her mix-ups involved with it get just a little bit trickier. And potentially maybe even more combos. If she can combo you in the air, Turbo Fall land, and then just kind of rejuggle from there. All versions of Tandem Top, regardless if it's heavy or the slash version, reduced recovery. So that makes this basically better just using it in neutral. The slash version and the heavy means, ideally, since you recover a little bit quicker, that will ideally, like, exponentially help out your mix-up game, right? If you can recover just a couple frames quicker while that's on screen, then your ability to do whatever mix you want, you can just set it up just a little bit earlier, and should be more strong. Also, the top does not disappear if Millia blocks an attack. So if she gets hit, sure, whatever, right? Like, if you get hit, it goes away. But if you block the attack, the top will still stay on the screen. So if you're fearing, like, reversal or people just doing any kind of shenanigans, if you just crouch block or stand block, whatever you want to do, you can rest assured the top will stay and do its thing. Iron Savior, that is Haircar. So Haircar decreased horizontal blowback distance, so it should knock the enemy less far away, meaning they're closer to you, and then you can just pressure them better when you get your knockdown. Also, as a nice little bonus, on top of making your pressure better, has a better hitbox. So hey, what's not to love there? Capel, that is Air Hair. So now it is no longer a strike. It counts as projectile. So for defensive property stuff, that'll definitely affect quite a few things, I'm sure. But here's some bonuses. Reduced recovery, so Millia recovers quicker. Also affected by momentum. So as it stands, like, if I air dash and do it, like, or jump back, or like, it's always the same distance, right? But now if I air dash and do it, it should, like, fling me across the screen, basically, if it's keeping my previous momentum. So that can be very, very interesting, and let her travel the whole screen in, like, a moment's notice. Also, more bonuses. Better hitbox, because the hitbox definitely kind of sucks on it. Like, let's get real. And it does more damage. So, awesome. Let's go. So, overall, definitely net buffs for Millia. That's going to be very interesting to see. Now, for Zato, big thing right off the bat is Eddie. The Eddie gauge depletes, well, not as fast as it currently does. So, you're able to use Eddie more than just, like, you know, whatever attack roll, right? You can actually afford to let him just do something on screen without immediately attacking. Now, it doesn't state the rate of the depletion being, you know, decreased, but any amount is a big deal. Making any amount of time that Eddie is allowed to stay on the screen longer exponentially helps Zato. That is a very, very big deal. Crouching Kick on top of the universal change here for knockback, less knockback that is. Also reduced attack startup, so it should be a frame quicker. Very nice. Close stand S, reduced recovery like many other characters. Crouching S, this guy here, reduced the frontal hurt box, meaning he is now less likely to get poked out of it. And ideally, hopefully for him, more likely to help poke other people out of their moves because his hurt box is now further back. Standing heavy slash, just straight up increased damage. Good. That's nice. He can definitely use it. Damage on like all of his non-Eddie stuff, right? But on the flip, crouching heavy slash reduced the damage. Now, if you're getting hit in those big Eddie combos where you've seen this guy bust it out multiple times, you're probably taking half your life or more, right? So, fair enough, I guess. So forward heavy slash, this guy here, the leaping giant bitey scorpion spider thing. So reduced, not increased, reduced descent speed. So basically he'll stay in the air just a little bit longer than he currently does. Now jump D, that's this guy here, one of your overhead tools, right? So increased the deceleration, meaning he slows faster. That makes any sense, right? And it states here in the patch notes, the idea is basically it's less likely for him to land while doing it. So it basically improves the utility as an overhead. Now, Eddie specific moves, Pierce, this guy here. So Pierce, delay the timing when Eddie gauge is depleted. So I think there's going to be just a little bit of a grace time before it starts automatically draining after the move is done. Also, the initial hit, the first hit, launches the opponent higher. I'm assuming this is for juggles because it does not launch as it currently stands. And reduce the attack startup of the second hit. So the second hit should come out faster than it currently does. That's a lot. That's the drills. So once again here, delayed the timing after the gauge is deleted. So once again, I think it's like a little bit of a grace time before the drain starts. Decreased damage. So less damage. But there's a saving grace here. Saving grace. All types of damage scaling here will only be applied once. So if you got like all the hits in, got all 4 hits, that'd be 4 times damage scaling would be applied, right? Now, regardless if it's 1 hit or all 4 hits or any point in between, damage scaling is only applied once. So basically you will do more overall damage. Now leap is the most obnoxious move. Everyone hates it. If you don't play Zato, then you love it. This one is just straight up damage nerf. Damage nerf and expanded the hurt box, so it's just a bit easier to poke Eddie out of it. That one's just a straight nerf, and fair enough, that's the most oppressive move by a mile. For M-Force, this is the big Shark Super. Has reduced attack startup, meaning it will come out faster than it currently does. Hey, that's nice. So overall, yeah, there's definitely the nerf to leap, which, you know, that does suck, right? But overall, this is pretty much net buffs for Zato, so good times. So Ramlethal, let's get into it. Dash canceling. So all of our dash cancel stuff has increased recovery, so it's basically slower, so that's a nerf. Crouch kick, decreased knockback, that's a buff. Once again, this is for counter hit combos now that they're available. Close stand S, reduced recovery, so she recovers quicker. Far stand S, this is one of the god pokes of the game. Reduce the upper hitbox. So ideally, she shouldn't be able to tag you out of the air, at least as cleanly now, right? But crouching S, this guy here, reduced attack startup, meaning it comes out faster, and reduced the recovery, meaning she, well, recovers quicker. So everything about crouch S is now just strictly better. Stand heavy slash also reduced the upper version of the hitbox. So the old classic combo basically ideally shouldn't rip people out of the air as much anymore. Bayonetto, this is all versions, this is the sword tosses. So this one will require a little bit of imagination because, well, let's get into it. Delayed timing when the projectile appears, but the attack startup remains unchanged. Now, you tell me, man. If the attack startup is unchanged, I can only assume basically like the frame date is the same, just the sword comes out less, but if the attack frame data is the same, then it shouldn't matter? I don't know. I'll just shrug my shoulders on that one. Now here's a strict nerf. If Ramlethal takes damage after firing a sword, but before it reaches the corner, before it gets, you know, stuck in place, then the sword just immediately drops to the ground. So there you go. Also a change I asked for, so I'm very happy. Just does less damage. All the sword toss stuff, she gets 1,000,000 damage off of it, all the corner carry in the world. Like, the utility basically is not ruined. It's basically going to be the same as it always was, but you're just going to do less damage while doing it. Also, in the corner, when the sword explodes, the hitbox is just a little bit less. 99% of the time, this is probably not going to matter too much, but hopefully this means Goldlewis specifically is allowed to jump out of it. Because as it currently stands, he cannot jump out of the explosion after blocking the move. He can only super jump out of it. Every other character in the game just do a regular jump, not Goldlewis. So I'm assuming that's the change. Daro, this guy here, increased movement distance, so goes further. That's a straight buff. That's a good buff. Aggressa or Dono, that's a quarter skill backslash in the air, double slash. So reduced deceleration. So with reduced deceleration, I think that means basically she's going to be just in place more while she's in the air. Like, she'll still fall a bit, but in situations where like you're as low as possible to the ground, you can only get the one hit. Maybe she'll be able to get both hits. That'd be interesting. And also lowered the height of the ascent. So I'm assuming if you do it like as low to the ground as possible, like she'll just immediately start falling or just like not go up as high on the initial part. So wait and see on that one. Calvados, that's the projectile super. So all hits except the last one do less damage, but the last one does more damage. I'm assuming this is like a combo scaling kind of thing, and well, wait and see, but I don't think it'll be that big of a difference. Now, Mortobato, this is one of the most ignorant supers in the game, has increased recovery. So if you get blocked, you're extra dead, which is more than fair, considering how fast the startup is with how much the range is, right? So overall, Ramlethal, like, she actually got a couple buffs. And like the nerf she got, like if like the frame data is still the same on the swords and like them appearing later, like what does that really mean? Like Ramlethal is still gonna Ramlethal is what I'm here to tell you basically. That is how I'm reading it. She will remain a threat. Now Leo. So Leo did eat a pretty nasty nerf here, but he also got some really strong buffs and might overall be stronger than he was before. Arc system works. They got a history of buffing top tiers, and this might be one of those examples. So let's get into it. So first up here, stand kick. Big ol' knee. Increased recovery. That is a nerf, but close stand S, crouch S, both have reduced recovery, so he recovers quicker than he did before. And of course, naturally, crouch kick, less knockback, get those counter hit combos when the patch comes, let's go. Now, his held guarded normals here, where he can like tank a bunch of hits and then knock you back, right? So now can withstand the opponent's attacks until directly before the attack's active, meaning it is much, much better as a defensive move. He has the window between like where you can hit him and before the attack comes out is now shortened. So that is just a straight big buff. Now the sweep. Everyone hates the sweep. This got nerfed. And they nerfed it by first buffing its lower hitbox. Yes, that's part of the package here. It is getting a better hitbox, but increased recovery. So now, basically, it's going to be much more negative on block. That's the thing. As it currently stands, like if he hit you at the tip, man, like you don't feel like you were in a good position. Like, yeah, I technically blocked and he's technically negative, but is he really? And well, actually, depending on the frames sometimes. Well, whatever. But basically, it was not a good feeling, right? So now increased recovery, just strictly, it's going to be worse on block. There you go. Also, decreased knockback, which means, well, he's going to be more on top of you when he actually gets it off, so that's a buff. Increased movement speed, I'm assuming this means he just travels that distance quicker. Now more affected by dash momentum, so that means he can dash and then like fling himself at you probably full screen, because if it's affected by momentum, that's usually how that works, so that's also another buff. And now launches the opponent higher on counter hit. So okay, it's just worse on block, but it's actually kind of just better in every other aspect. So that's your nerf. For jump D, in situations you're in the air, it says now bounces the opponent higher. So ideally more combo potential. Eisensturm, that's the flash kick. So flash kick here, increased attack startup. So before the S version was tied for fastest invincible reversal in the game. Now I'm going to assume it's at least 1 frame slower, if not more, but there you go. And in situations where the opponent blocks in the air, they now return to the ground quicker. In a lot of situations, the S version also specifically was just not punishable, let alone even like you have advantage, right? So ideally, hopefully, this means the person who successfully blocked the move can at least poke them or something now. But now back to straight buff territory. Zweites Kaltes Gastober, this stupid move, now can cross up people when they're in the corner. So before, the corner offered you some semblance of protection. Like at the very least, he couldn't do the left-right mix on you, right? Now, no longer. He absolutely gets to mix you up while you're in the corner, which is ridiculous. I think that's very fair. This is a massive buff for him. Like before, it wasn't possible. He didn't have the ability. Now he does, which means maybe the mix, get cornered out, right? Because there's gonna be like certain positions where like he can like run forward and he'll stay same side depending on the pushback, and certain ones where he'll just barely pixel cross over you and then whatever, right? And then he'll be back turn and run you over, and that's the game as always. Turbulence is no longer a true hard knockdown. The opponent does get the tech roll, so he can't like tap him on the ground or whatever. So that is a nerf. However, let's go back to those buffs. So just basic kick during Brynhildr stance. So it does more damage and also is subject to that counter hit change. So if this counter hits someone, they will get the time slowdown effect. And finally, Blitzschlag, that's the big overhead here. Reduced base damage scaling, meaning it'll do more damage in combos. And also causes less wall break value, which means you'll get to do longer combos in the corner while using it. So, like, yeah, some nerfs, sure, but also some buffs. Like, I can't say he's weaker than he was before, because he might theoretically be stronger. So, have fun with that. So, Nagoriyuki, we all know is all about the blood gauge. Build up that gauge, you know, your moves get better, that kind of stuff, right? Like, we all want that big level 2 heavy slash sword swing, right? Because, you know, that level 1, it's just not as impressive. But how about we take that concept and apply it to more moves? So stand slash and its follow-ups and crouch slash are now directly affected by the blood gauge. So how it is now, the attack startup now varies depending on the blood gauge. Now, if you're unaware, when you build up your blood, like a lot of the heavy slashes and all that, they, not only they get more range, they also become faster. Their startup is different. Like, for example here, level 2, crouch slash, heavy slash is a natural combo because the attack is faster at level 2. But at level 1, or level 0, I guess, nothing, right? So now this is going to apply to the slashes, your mediums, if you will. So when your blood's built up, they're going to get better, and I'm sure like a crouch slash, which is already one of the scariest normals in the game, at level 2 blood is going to be absolutely ridiculous. But it may be now at level 0 with no blood built up, the move could be worse. Says damage and chip damage now varies depending on the blood gauge. So of course, more blood, more damage, sure. But yeah, so it might be better at high blood gauges than it already is, but it might be worse at lower blood gauges than it currently is. So we'll see how that goes. Also, small nerf here, crouch heavy slash, reduced lower hitbox, so it hit less low to the ground than it currently does. Also, with the blood gauge changes, jump slash also affected, and so is jump D. So basically everything with the sword now is affected by the blood gauge. Now, also for the actual blood rage explosion, that has been changed. It says decrease the opponent's reeling time during the guard crush. So as it currently reads, it means they should recover quicker. Like they already recover very quick as it's negative, right? So maybe easier full punishes as it currently stands. Now, for all these special moves, delay the timing when the blood gauge begins to increase. So basically, you'll have, as I'm reading it, a bit of a grace period before the blood gauge starts going up. So in situations where you're about to go berserk, maybe you'll get one more move in before everything kind of falls apart, right? Now, Nagoriyuki, aka Beyblade, spin to win, whatever you want to call it. Decrease knockback. So if you hit the enemy, they should be closer to you than they currently are. That's a buff. Increased movement distance. I called for this move to have less movement distance as a nerf, right? So screw it, it's getting more distance moving forward. And also momentum remains when you cancel it from other special moves. And also, spoiler, you can cancel the end of Fukyo and moves now, right? So you can like fling yourself across the screen with a Fukyo into this. But here's the big actual nerf. So we just gave you a bunch of buffs, right? But so increased recovery. This means it should no longer be neutral on block. It'll probably be negative on block. So you got this other world of buffs to work with, sure. But one of the biggest, if not the biggest thing, was if it got blocked, it's kind of like whatever, who cares, right? Like it's still party time for Nagoriyuki. Now if he's definitively negative, that is going to be very much less the case. Now Shizuriyuki, that's the uppercuts, says added a ground bounce effect to the second hit. So if you nail someone with this, it's a full combo? Like, man, I don't know, man. That's crazy. Like, that's a big buff. Now Fukyo, your teleports. So the latter half of the move can now be canceled into some special moves. So you should be able to Fukyo and at the very tail end cancel into anything else. Obviously it'll drain a lot of blood, sure, but that adds to his mobility, it adds to his presence on screen a lot. That is definitely a decidedly large buff for him. And you keep the momentum you had while canceling those other special moves. So once again, if you Fukyo and go right into your Beyblade, you're basically going to fling yourself across the screen. That's probably how that'll work. So his super, so the thing here that's changing is when you don't get the cinematic. So like a lot of his combos like revolve around like him hitting you with the tip, but not going to the full super, and then you fall and you recombo out, right? There's more recovery now when you do that, so that's not good, but the effect now bounces people up higher when the initial hit connects, if you don't trigger cinematic. So they juggle higher, but you recover later. So I guess we'll have to find the sweet spot between that if it's a buff or a nerf, but still, it is interesting nevertheless. So if you thought Nagoriyuki was going to get nerfed into the ground, well, no. Beyblade nerf is definitely a big nerf, but everything else, like, is mostly nominally buffs. Like, I guess depending on the slash stuff, like, if these are weaker at lower levels, if he does not have high blood, you can definitely probably bully him a lot more than you currently can. But at higher blood, and assuming these guys get buffed, it's going to be even more devastating. So he's potentially stronger than he was before. Now, Giovanna. So Giovanna, everyone will agree she's a good character. Like, maybe, not quite as good as the true top tiers, but definitely a very solid all-around character. And she's basically got nothing but buffs. So let's talk about it here. So her dash. So she can't run, right? Like most characters run. She dashes. And you can actually mess with the dash momentum now. So dash, you can hold forward or dash and then hold back. And it like very highly apparently will now change the movement distance. So if you let it rock, you have a little bit for momentum. And if you hold back right away, like it'll cancel first possible frame. So like it'll hold you back. But if you hold forward now, you should go even further. And if you hold back right after doing it, it should go less far. So her movement control is definitely going up. And now here's another really big thing. So, all know how her gimmick works, right? If she's at 50% meter or 100% meter, she gets like the little bit of buff, right? But now when she's at least 50% meter, and obviously 100% meter, all of her moves, like all of her normals, not just specials, do chip damage now. So she's already really good offensive blender. Now if you block her and she has any kind of meter, you're just going to be taking chip on everything. So that's pretty crazy. Same crouch kick change as everyone else, less knockback, so better for the counter hit combos that'll be coming up. And also has a better hitbox. The hitbox goes higher up than it currently did before, so that's a good buff. Now, stand S, this is the triple kick. Decreased horizontal blowback distance. So I'm reading it basically if you catch them in the air. So as I'm reading it, if you catch them in the air, they'll go less far, I think, maybe. Now sweep. So sweep increased recovery. So this is a nerf. Now I'm not saying how much, but increased recovery. And also says no longer hits the opponent when more than a set distance apart. So there's going to be like a sour spot basically on the move as far as I can tell. This is one of the most ridiculous normals in the game. If it needs a little bit of a nerf, I think that's okay. It still retains all of its overwhelming benefits. Those aren't going anywhere. Now here's also another nerf. Her ground throw has reduced throw range. The thing with her dash is, like, she's already like a semi-grappler in a way because she can just dash in and throw you so fast you cannot possibly react. And now, potentially, her forward dash is even going to be crazier than it currently is. So, fair enough, but as long as you're touching the enemy, you'll still get the throw, right? So, use that new dash to bring you all the way in and chug them. Sepultura, Dog Lariat. So, maybe I was wrong when I said it's mostly buffs. Like, there is some nerfs, but still, I think it's a net positive. But anyways, does a little bit less damage, and the hitbox is a little worse. So, it's kind of whatevs. Now, Truvao, that is your cannon drill. Expanded the maximum distance from the opponent from which it can connect. So basically it can hit from further away. That's a buff. Increased active frames. That's a buff. Reduced recovery. You recover faster. That's a buff. And also should make it more plus. Sol Nascente. That's the sort of uppercut. I swear this move's been buffed in every single patch in the game. So it's getting buffed again. So reduced the lower hitbox. So basically the hitbox is getting shifted. It's going further up. Like the overall hitbox is moving upwards. So less slow to the ground, sure, but higher up. So easier to smack people out of the air, which is ideally what you're supposed to be using it for. And now here's the ridiculous one, Sol Puente. That is your baked in mix-up move, and that's also plus on block, right? So now, how about this? Expanded the lower hitbox, meaning it has a better hitbox. Buff number 1. Movement distance now varies depending on the direction you're holding. What does this mean? It means you get to control this move. So like, if you do it here, it's always going to be a cross-up, no matter what, right? But now if you hold back, you can stay same side. So now you can make an ambiguous left-right mix, which is, for a plus on block move, frankly, ridiculous. Now, the opponent does get the roll on knockdown, so it's kind of whatever, right? But the pure power of this move is huge. Now, it says increased recovery. So here's the thing. Is it still plus on block? If it's still plus on block, then this is just absolutely ridiculous. If it's neutral or even like -1 on block, then, okay, maybe we'll talk, right? But yeah, as it stands on paper, this is monstrously powerful. Because remember, anything into RC into full combo and go from there, right? So Giovanna, interesting changes, just to say the least. I think she will remain one of the stronger characters in the game. Anji. Some people might be happy, some people maybe not so much. Well, let's get into it. So 1, crouching kick, just like everyone else. Reduce knockback. So you'll get those cool new counter hit combos when the time comes. Close standing S, less recovery. That's good. Far standing S, that's his poke. Also, reduced attack startup, meaning it'll be at least 1 frame faster. And reduced frontal hurtbox, meaning it's harder to poke him out at the tip of the move. That's a buff. That's good. Crouch heavy slash. Reduced attack startup, meaning it'll be at least 1 frame faster, if not even more, potentially. Reduced frontal hurtbox, once again harder to poke him out of it. Also, no longer in a counter hit okay state after the active frames end, so if you get bopped after the fact, you'll still get bopped, but it's going to be less worse than it could be. Stand heavy slash, this guy here. So we'll now force the opponent into a crouching state on a grounded counter hit. So as it stands, like it's just like anything else, right? You get your counter, but now it'll force them to crouch. And keep in mind, crouching people while you hit them have additional hit stun, right? Certain combos are possible on crouching people that are not on standing people. So potentially maybe a new combo or two. I guess we'll have to wait and find out. Butterfly. So change the butterfly. The butterfly now goes slower when you're close to the corner. So basically, ideally anyways, gives you situations where like you can do it and it just won't fly over their head and you ruin your setup, right? So if it's a little closer to the corner, it'll be a little slower, take a little more time to travel the enemy, and then it should wake up into them, or rather they wake up into it, like you would always hope. But subject to change, right? Like we'll find out. Mostly should be a buff, but could turn out horribly wrong. Now here's the big one. Fujin. Fujin has less recovery. So you can just rock Fujin by itself. You don't have to go into the follow-up or whatever, and it'll just be less negative on block. And if it's less negative on block, that means you can do a Fujin, taps into another Fujin immediately to re-challenge or whatever. But it's better on block, and that's good. Now, here's some bad news. Fujin, the charge version, no longer launches on grounded hit. It'll just be like a regular old hit like it currently is. So maybe bad news bears on that one. We'll see. Maybe it'll naturally combo into one of the follow-ups, like in a decent way. I don't know, but you definitely are losing out on the big bounce. Now Rin, this is the big overhead follow-up to Fujin. So reduced attack startup. So the big overhead comes out quicker. That is good. Reduced recovery, safer on block. That's good. Although don't confuse it for being safe on block. I'm sure it won't be safe on block, but safer on block. If you start the combo with the overhead, it will now decrease the scaling. So basically you'll do more damage than you currently do. That's good. Also less wall break value gain. That's good. So you can do longer combos in the corner. But it also bounces the opponent less than it currently does. They'll not go as high, although they'll be closer to you. So hopefully net neutral on that one. So now here's a noodle scratcher for you. Ko, that's his up fans. So Ko now does less damage on the second hit, and the opponent now gets to roll. So no more hard knockdown, meaning, well, consider that butterfly setup pretty dead. Because butterfly with that hard knockdown would land directly on top of him. Nice little setup. And now, not happening. So that's just a strict nerf. And as we all knew, you know, Anji needed the nerfs, right? This is part of Daisuke's vision to nerf Anji, right? But yeah, I don't know, man. Like, he didn't need to have that taken away from him. That doesn't make much sense. So there you go on that. And his big fan super will do more damage. That's nice. So Anji mostly buffs, but some weird nerfs. Like some weird changes. I just don't know why they did it. Maybe it will become clear to us when the patch goes live and then we're all celebrating. But for now, it just feels like the boy got some nerfs he didn't need to get. Ino, very interesting changes for Ino. First up here, just the basic air dash. And I'm assuming this maybe might mean the grounded dash. I don't know, but basically, for sure, the air dash. You can now alter the trajectory. And this is also for air backdashes as well. Hold up or down while doing it, and she will go up or down. I can't show you because the patch not live, but there you go. So the air game, definitely a lot more interesting for sure. Crouching punch. Reduced attack startup, meaning it will be at least one more frame faster. That is very good. Crouch kick, same as always. Decreased knockback for the counter hit stuff, but I've been saying this for like every character up to this point. Decreased knockback means this shit should finally stop happening. If you put any time, I don't even play Ino and this bugs me. No, like the fact that crouch kick can put you out of sweep range like a lot of times at a lot of distances, and this is something they tried to fix once and it didn't work all the way. So now with this mostly universal change of crouch kick, I'm not going to say this is going to go away because it probably won't, but it should happen less. So that is good. Now, close slash, reduced recovery like many other characters. Her projectile anti-present scale. It is now more easy to manipulate the trajectory holding up or down. It says specifically easier to alter it. So it'll go down or up quicker, ideally. And, you know, once you set it on the course, it's hard to like alter it at all. So hopefully like you can change it mid-direction better as well. Also, the projectile appears earlier from a Roman cancel state. Before you had to like, basically had to let like all the way out. Now you can relive your Exard YRC dreams a little bit better. Also, the air version specifically, not the ground version, but the air version specifically, it has a faster move speed on the projectile, although your recovery is increased. So the projectile itself is better, but you have a bit more lag after doing it, basically. Chemical Love, more active frames. So hopefully just a little bit better to bop people with as a proper projectile. The heavy version of Stroke the Big Tree specifically, only the heavy, not the slash version. So increase stagger duration. So they're in the stagger state longer, meaning you should be able to get more combo potential, or at the very least easier combos. Decrease knockback on hit, meaning they'll be pushed back less far away. So yeah, basically with the increased stagger and the fact they'll be closer to you, your combo potential basically should be going up. But, here's the big but, increased recovery. So on hit shouldn't mean too much, hopefully anyways. But on block, it means it might not be plus on block any longer. Maybe it might be neutral or something, or maybe it might just be +1, I don't know. But if you say increase the recovery, it's got to affect that frame data on block somehow. One of the biggest things about this move is it's plus on block, right? That's the big boy thing, that's really good. But that is now apparently subject to change. And Sultry Performance, that is the heavy slash version here, basically your air cycle crusher version. So here's the thing, so if you do it and you get all the hits, awesome, right? But if you do it and like you only tag them with like, you know, the absolute end of the move, kind of less awesome. Like it's hard to not get all the hits, but well, it's hard not to get all the hits, but then you find yourself in a situation where you get all the hits, right? And you see here, like they just get dumped to the ground immediately. But if you hit them with all the hits, they get launched up, right? So now if you hit them with at least the last hit, it'll always be the launch up no matter what. That is good. And Fortissimo supers. So a little bit more startup, and this is a lot of characters are getting this, so it's not really nerf for her. And the air version specifically, she can't land as the move is coming out. So that's also small nerf. But yeah, overall, like, you could say there's some nerfs, sure, but like her air movement's going to be jacked up big time. Big buffs to there. The fact that she has better crouching normal, that's good. Projectile game should be a little bit more interesting. That's good. So overall, I say net buffs for Ino. Okay, so Goldlewis. A lot of people, myself included, were hoping for some big changes, and Goldlewis definitely absolutely net buff overall. So first off, this is one of the big ones, 4P, 6P, whatever you want to call it. This, I was about to swear. This is the worst one in the game by a mile. And now, it probably still is, but at least it hits further down than it currently does. So he might actually be able to hit some normals while he's trying to counter poke him. So probably still bad, but better than what it was. Now, like other characters, crouch kick, that's knockback. Also bonus reduced recovery. So that should change the frame data a little bit. Close stand S, also reduced recovery, and that's also very good. This is a very important move for him. And keep in mind, too, the universal changes. He will be able to dash cancel it like everyone else. Far stand S, this is the back fist. This is one of his key neutral buttons, even though it's not even necessarily a good neutral button, but he needs it, so. Now moves forward. This is like a Dragon Ball Fighter style of buff, where they just take a normal inside, like, okay, now you're going to move across the screen while doing it. So now he'll do that. Also, reduce the frontal hurt box, so a little less likely to poke him out of it. Doesn't say anything about the hitbox, so it's going to be very easy to low profile. A lot of characters are going to be able to do crouching moves under it with impunity like they currently do. That's whatever. But, you know, once again, that's why stand kick exists, right? That's your counterplay to that, because it has a disjointed hitbox, so there you go. But yeah, so it'll move forward, so more range for Goldlewis especially, who needs the range, more better. Standing heavy slash says expanded the frontal hitbox, so it hit further away from where it currently does. Because as it stands, like as you can see here, like it could be more generous, right? And so ideally from this range, it'll now hit. Like if you get that much closer, it'll hit, but whatever, right? It has a disjointed hitbox too, so it'll still be good as a counter poke, better as a counter poke now actually, and maybe a move you actually want to use up close. So we'll see. Now this one's a bit of an oddball one here. So forward heavy slash, the big windup. Increased movement speed. It doesn't have movement speed. Now maintains momentum. Okay. So like if you run, will you keep sliding across the screen with it? Maybe. Or maybe, like, and the words are wrong, maybe they're making like Kara cancelable, like Potemkin's shoulder. And if so, that'd be really cool. They get like Kara a Behemoth Typhoon or something, get more range on Typhoon. But I'll wait and see, I guess. As it's written, it says increased movement speed. It has no movement speed. So I don't know what they're talking about, right? So we'll see. If it maintains momentum and it is a Kara move, that means basically you would fling yourself forward a little bit and you'd have like sliding Behemoth Typhoons. That would be cool. Maybe I'm just dreaming that and I'm wishing for it. But, well, once again, a couple days away, we'll find out. Now, air buffs. Everyone's got the air buffs, so we're not going to belabor that. But jump D specifically. This is... Like, Goldlewis might not be good, but this is one of the best jumping normals in the game, right? Reduce the frontal hurt box, so less likely to, you know, tag him out of it. And reduced attack startup, so it comes out faster than it currently does. That's very good, very strong. And now here's my hope. That jump kick into jump D might become a natural combo. As it currently stands, it is not. But it might be now with the patch. If it's just a little bit faster, that could become a natural combo. If so, that's very good. So Thunderbird, that is the drone. So lots of changes here. So delayed the timing on the security level reset. And this is also the same on Skyfish. So as it currently stands, the second you press that button, you are draining all your security level. I guess it'll be delayed slightly. Like maybe if you get hit out of the startup of the move, it'll let you keep your security level. They're not saying explicitly, but that's maybe one way. Because it would have to take off security level anyways, right? There's no other benefit other than maybe if it saves you if you get counter hit out of it. That would be fantastic. It'd be much more incentivized to do stuff like that, especially like you getting hit out of like the first frame of your Skyfist projectile. Like then you would still have the meter and you can try it again. That'd be really, really good. The recovery now depends on the security level. So I'm assuming that means the more security you have going into the move, well, you recover faster and faster and faster. That makes sense to me. Your clash level now also depends on your security level. So it could be that it'll just crush everything at level 3. I don't know. I guess once again, we'll have to wait and find out. The active frames extend after hitting the opponent. So in situations, I'm assuming, where like it touches you barely, like one hit, but then, oh, it ran out of time. You don't get the explosion. So as long as you keep getting hits, it'll keep going until it's ready to explode. That is the buff. Odd wording on this one, but the timing of the hitbox no longer disappears if Goldlewis takes damage after firing the projectile. Now varies depending on the security level. That's a mouthful. I'm assuming if you get counter hit out of it at a certain point, the projectile's still coming out. That's how I'm choosing to read it. I guess we'll find out soon enough. And here's a big one. So the opponent can no longer recover. So as it stands, when they get hit by it, they get the roll, right? Now it'll be a true hard knockdown. So that means you get this, you can run after them, and you can be directly on top of them, and they just gotta wait. That is a big buff. That is very good. The super, down with the system, if they block midair, they're gonna land quicker. This is a universal change. And now burn it down. This is the big boy laser. Reduced recovery, so it comes out of the super faster. And he can move around quicker. Very good. Actually makes it a lot more useful in neutral, because part of the thing was here I am holding up, right? You can recover pretty quick as it stands. But if you can recover like instantly or close to instantly, then as a pressure move, it becomes infinitely more valuable. So that's very strong, and that's Goldlewis as it stands. There's a couple things I would like to see that we didn't get, I guess, but and some of the things the wording is very unclear and very vague, and that's the nature of some of these patches, I guess. But overall, definitely buff for sure. Now, Jacko, off the bat, one of the big ones, Servant Gauge now starts with an increased value. I'm assuming maxed, hopefully. So other characters have like resource and they can start with it right away, right? Jacko, she has to like build it from the start of the round. So now, at the very least, I'm assuming 2 gauges, hopefully full, like out of the gate, right? That'd be crazy otherwise. So that is a very good quality of life buff for Jacko. Now, other stuff. Crouch Punch, reduced attack startup. So that means it's at least 1 frame faster. That's good. Stand Kick, reduced recovery. This is a good button to just bully people with. That's also a very good change. Crouch Kick, like so many other people, less knockback for the counter hits that'll be coming, but also reduced attack startup, so it's at least 1 frame faster, and reduced recovery, so it recovers quicker. So like winning out pretty decent here. Close Stand S, also reduced recovery. Crouching HS, this guy here, very important for combos. So decreased the horizontal blowback distance, meaning they'll just be closer to you while you're doing this move. So that helps out a lot. It should make some combo stuff a lot easier mid-screen. That's good. I like it. Her sweep. Her sweep is reduced attack startup, meaning it comes out faster, at least 1 frame faster. That's a good buff. Jump D. So this is her air projectile, and it's got some changes. Can now be jump canceled and air dash canceled. So this means after I toss this thing, I don't just got to go back to the ground, right? I can do this and then jump again and toss another one, or I can do it and then air dash in on you. Like say I super jump and I do it, and then I air dash in on you while like it's in your face. Like that's interesting. That gives her a lot more presence mid-screen. That is really, really good. And just like Kai, if you use it in a dust combo, it'll actually give you a dust finisher. So that's good. Just good buffs all around. This makes it like zoning, usage, everything a lot better. Like it still does crap damage, but you know, you're not meant to win by this, right? You're meant to frustrate your opponent, and now it's going to be way better at it. Throw Servant. Every version of Throw Servant now recovers quicker. That's good. Also increase the clash level of the Servant. Basically, against projectiles, it should now beat projectiles properly instead of like losing out. That's good. Recover Servant, the thing nobody uses, now has reduced recovery. Attack Command, the thing everyone uses. reduced attack, startup, and recovery. So it comes out faster and you recover better. The frame advantage that says specifically remains the same. So many of these other moves, they talk about reducing recovery and all that. They don't mention the frame advantage. Here, they specifically mention the frame advantage. But still, coming out faster and on whiff too, I guess. That's very, very good. Now, this is an odd one here because it says attack command while holding a servant does damage. Like now deals damage, it does damage. I'm assuming it's like a typo or something, just deals more damage. That's how I'm choosing to read it. Because as it's written, it doesn't make much sense. How about defend command? So the defend command is now better. Increase the time window which servants can withstand attacks. And also expanded the hitbox of the actual defense as it currently stands. So just strictly superior. That's great. Servant shoot. That's the big boot. So servant shoot increased active frames. So the move itself is just out there for longer. And also reduced recovery, so you recover quicker. That's great. Although no change to frame advantage. They do specifically call that out. So you're not less negative on block or whatever. And if you boot a servant with it, it increases their clash level. So once again, when it comes to like projectiles, like right there, I lost. I straight up lost, right? Against Testament. So now it should be able to destroy the projectile instead of losing to it. Also, the air version reduced deceleration and expanded the hitbox and hurtbox. So just basically better and potentially more tricks. Also, Elysian Driver, that's her big grab super. Servants are now recovered immediately upon activation because, you know, as it stands, your meter's there and they burned up a lot of their time, right? So I'm assuming it just does the recall command, just gives you all your meter back for it. So if you're using this, like that's the end of the combo, right? So you don't need the servants anymore and you burn their time. So I think that's better in the end. So yeah, Jacko, especially like the jump D changes, definitely a very big deal. Definitely very helpful for the character just across the board. She'll still be awkward to use, hard to use, right? But definitely all for the better in the end. Now, Happy Chaos. Obviously, things were going to happen here, right? So concentration. So concentration is that gauge that depletes while he's holding his gun, right? So the big change is to that. So basically, the further you are away, the faster it depletes. However, the closer you are, the less it depletes. So the Zony version of Happy Chaos, where it's like got curse on you and you're playing red light, green light, because you never really know when to stop blocking. Because if you stop, then you get hit, and then you get comboed, and you get another curse tossed on you, and we just rinse, repeat, and all that kind of stuff. That version should be worse now of Happy Chaos. Because if concentration drains faster, that's what feeds everything. And yeah, you can have like the buffs up and all that kind of stuff, right? But regardless, it should drain quicker at a range. So a little less frustrating on that end. Besides that, and that's the big one, Crouch Punch has less startup, should be at least 1 frame faster. Same crouch kick buff like almost everyone else. Close S, less recovery. Far S, that's the big old put your hands in the air here, right? So Far S, increased knockback, so pushes you back further than it currently does. Reduced recovery, so he recovers quicker. And increases the movement speed. Now, increased movement speed, I'm not sure on that one. Because it doesn't move unless it just means it moves further a little bit quicker. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Crouch S, that's the big boy poke over here. So Crouch S is better. So expanded the upper hurt box and hitbox. So it's easier for you to get tapped, sure, yes. But it's also easier to catch people, especially if they're like just barely above the ground. Jump down kick, his Chun-Li Yoskyak. Now has faster startup, reduced startup, so faster startup. Reduced recovery after connecting with the opponent, so he can act again faster than he currently does. And decrease the height of the bounce when he connects and he bounces. So basically he's just going to be on top of you better and recovers faster. So it's a lot scarier. At the ready, that's getting your pistol up here. So reduced recovery, recovers quicker, that's good. Increased base damage scaling, meaning if you use it in a combo, you will do less damage overall. Also increased combo blowback scaling if you use it as a starter, meaning you'll basically get less overall hits in your combo. And now causes more wall break value gain. So if you use it in a combo near the corner, they'll break the wall faster. Regular gunshots. Decrease knockback. So they'll go less far every time you hit them. Also, the hitbox now disappears if he takes damage. So basically, if bullets on screen for whatever barely an amount of time it's on screen, it'll go away. Now, fire during steady aim. This is the big one. Does less damage. Because you can take too much of your life from full screen. So now it does less damage. Fair enough. Now, for steady aim itself, reduce the recovery after exiting the stance with the same command. Because as it stands, like, him messing with his shades actually has a significant amount of recovery. Like, it takes me that long to shoot, right? So now that part will be much quicker. Any reloads. While you're reloading with Happy Chaos, he is now always in a counter hit okay state. As it currently stands, if you hit him like while he's actively reloading, then it'll count as a counter hit, but at any point like during the recovery, no, won't count. So now it counts as a counter hit all the way through. Now don't worry, you didn't think he was not going to get a buff or two, right? So rolls. He can now shoot sooner out of a roll, which means the dumb roll mixed up in the gunshot is going to be way better than it was before. And also roll has more movement speed. So that part is the game is going to get better. Now Scapegoat, as we all know, Scapegoat, it takes health. And now it'll take more health than it currently does. It says properties now vary when activated at low health. Good thing you don't tell us what changes. I don't know. That's all it tells me. So we'll find out when the patch goes live, I guess. And finally, Curse. Curse is a strong effect, right? But now there's at least one thing to help bring it down just a little bit. That if you hit him while he has a curse up, the curse will now go away. As it stands, no amount of hitting Happy Chaos will stop the curse. Now if you hit him, curse goes away. So overall, is Happy Chaos garbage now? Honestly, no. No, he's not. Like, is he brought down from the high heavens? Yes. But I think he'll still be a very effective and frustrating to fight against character. Now, Baiken, some very interesting changes. First, stand punch comes out faster, reduced startup, so at least 1 frame faster. That's good. Crouch kick, same like everyone else, less knockback. So you'll get those sick crouch kick counter hit combos now. That's good. Forward kick, big boot. Now retains its momentum when canceled. So I'm assuming if you special cancel it, it'll just keep moving you forward. Because I don't think this is a character cancel okay move. But if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. But still, there you go. So you'll retain momentum. I think that's what it means. Just when you do specials to keep moving forward. Close S, reduce recovery like so many people. Far stand S, the poke. Reduce attack startup, comes out faster. Reduce the frontal hurt box, harder to hit her while doing it. So just makes this move better than it already is. Crouch S, much the same here. Crouch S, very strong poke. Reduced recovery, very good. Because it's a very strong poke, but it's kind of out there for a little bit. And also reduced the frontal hurt box, so it's harder to hit her. So her poke game just getting better. Crouch heavy slash, the big desperation slash. So no longer hits the opponent when more than a set distance apart. A couple of people have this wording. I'm assuming there's like a sour spot on the move now. And reduced the upper hurt box, so it's harder to hit her while she's low to the ground. That's good. Potentially maybe being able to go under certain attacks now. That'd be very interesting. Tatami. So Tatami has expanded the frontal hitbox of the strike, meaning the move just hits better, right? So that's good. That's great. It says here it now activates even after an upwards input. So I'm assuming if you want to do like the super jump versions of the move, like the Tiger Knee versions, that might be going away. Since this specific thing's called out versus like some of the other stuff. I think if you do output input, you'll still just get the grounded version. Now, it's easy enough just to jump and do it anyway, so it's kind of whatever, as long as your hands are fast enough anyways, right? But that's a wait and see. Also, the air versions expanded the backwards hitbox, so the back of the mat is now easier to hit whilst falling. That's good. So now here's the big one, Kabari. That's the rope, and this is specifically the slash version, not the heavy slash version. So it's now plus on block. Like they call it out specifically, reduced recovery, and it's already 0 on block as it is, right? So now reduced recovery 0 on block, that means it's plus on block. Very, very, very good. Like this is a big deal. Just to make sure it's always her turn now, that's a very, very big deal. And make it the fact that like, you know, stand punches faster, that kind of stuff. Her pressure while she's in your face is better. Now that's on block though, specifically, right? It says on grounded hit. If you actually connect with the move, the tether no longer pulls the opponent in during the animation. So you're just tethered together. Like at like the distance, I'm assuming like the minimum distance it forces you to stay at. But yeah, so much better on block. Like, it doesn't bring you in all the way, sure, but like it brings you in enough that if you're plus, that's going to just be very handy. And on hit, it doesn't bring you in all the way either now, so that's a little negative, but still, I think the overall utility of the move is much better. Now, Kabari and the follow-up, the heavy slash versions. So the base move by itself, less affected by combo blowback scaling, so you should be able to use it in combos and like get an extra hit in before like just people start falling out. And the follow-up version now triggers counter hits. So you can hit people with it, like, and not necessarily get the first hit, right? So now that gets the counter hit. That's good. The hitbox is better. It can hit like in weird directions as well, like especially if you use like a mix-up or whatever. So now the enemy blowback is always the direction Baiken is facing, just to keep things in line that way. The move itself also is no longer in a counter hit state until the move ends. So like if you whiffed, right? As long as like until the last frame animation you hit it with anything, it's full counter hit. Now it'll be at least a little bit more reasonable on that regard. But increased recovery on block. So if you get blocked, you're probably getting blown up now. Now Yozansen, very famous move, right? Reduced landing recovery. So this should affect her overall frames. Like if reduced landing recovery, it means she could like jump earlier or interact earlier when she lands. And also just straight up increased damage. So the old, random overhead, TK, Yozansen, and RC in the combo should be much better now. Not the least of which with the Roman cancel changes, right? So like if I do this, RC and quick cancel, you'll still have a time stop effect. So like this stuff's gonna get way deadlier. The counter. So counter reduced recovery after a successful parry, as well as when unsuccessful. So basically if you bop someone, you recover quicker, and you can like ideally pressure a little bit better. And if you whiff, well then, maybe you won't get blown up for being an idiot and whiffing your counter. You probably still will, but like, maybe it'll hurt a little bit less. But yeah, so that's very interesting. I especially like on the slash version of Kabari, the fact that if it's blocked, you're definitely at frame advantage now. I think that lends a lot more to the move as it stands. Because like if you hit, you hit. Great, sure, whatever, right? But most of the time, it's slow startup. It doesn't always hit. And like you're very poorly incentivized to use it in neutral over the heavy slash version. So now that being the case, I think that's really strong and really good. Overall, I think Baiken definitely net buff for sure. So Testament, our final character. First off here, Stand Kick, which is always a pretty decent button. Reduced recovery. So that's good, especially because, once again, get the counter hits now, right? So potentially Testament's going to be getting more off just basic pokes, especially because of the range of Testament's attacks, more than the average character. That's good. Crouching kick, just like everyone, less knockback, but also reduced attack startup, so it comes out at least 1 frame faster. That's very good. Close S, less recovery. Far S, reduced attack startup, comes out faster. Good. Reduced recovery, less negative. Good. And also reduced frontal hurt box, which is good because this move is all hurt box. You can like jab Testament out of there, stand slash, right? So just this move is just better across the board. That's great. Crouch S, also a decent move, right? So reduced attack startup, so it's at least, if not more, 1 frame faster, right? And also reduced the hurt box, that's good. So the pokes, they're doing well. Stand heavy slash. Reduced recovery, very good, because this move can whiff often, because this is your disjointed hurt box move. Like this is a move you try to catch other people's buttons with. So when you're just fishing with it, you'll now be less out there if you whiff. Very, very good. Forward heavy slash, the big King Kong normal, right? Reduced horizontal blowback distance, meaning, ideally, they're bounced back less far. They're closer to you on bounce. That's good. That helps your offense and combo ability. And why not reduce attack startup so it comes out faster than it currently does? This is a really good move. So coming out faster, great. Now, speaking of a really nice buff, Grave Reaper. So this is your projectile implants the succubus on the screen, right? The succubus remains on screen longer. This is great because like you basically, if you're going to do anything with the succubus, you had to interact with it near immediately because as it currently stands, it goes away really fast, right? So staying on screen longer, that is fantastic. Also, it says activates even after an upwards input. So this might change how Tiger Knee versions of the move work. I guess we'll find out. Like once again, if your hands are fast enough, like it's not really an issue, but not everyone's hands are fast enough. Well, just wait and see, wait and see. Now, the grounded Grave Reapers, projectiles here, it says expanded frontal hitbox and hurtbox of the strike. So I don't know if this means like the actual initial hit or the projectile itself, ideally both. But there you go. Now the slash version says launches the opponent higher, so I'm assuming during juggles and stuff. So once again, that's pretty decent, right? Heavy slash version, expanded lower hitbox of the projectile as it comes out. So basically, there's a lot of situations where like you could do it and just the enemy was grounded anyway, it's not touching them. Now it should, ideally, hopefully, like not if they're crouching or anything, but a little bit more utility. All slash versions of the projectile have a better back hitbox for the slash version, and all heavy slash versions now have faster startup. So just Testament's projectile game is just superior for the most part to what it was. Everything's faster, better, and then the bonus of the succubus after the fact is out there longer. Just big buffs on that front. Now, Unholy Diver. This is our bird friend. So our bird friend, 1, now launches the opponent higher. I'm assuming this is in juggles, because as it currently stands, doesn't launch the opponent, right? With decreased horizontal blowback distance, so higher, and they push you less farther away during combos specifically. And that's actually a big help, because a lot of Testament combos can happen from pretty far away, so that's good. If the succubus is on screen, it says has increased active frames, also good. Same deal if succubus is on screen. Expanded hitbox, also good. And it's a good quality of life thing. If the succubus is on screen, like it always goes to the succubus, right? But if you want it to go straight regardless, if you hold the button now, it'll always go straight regardless if the succubus is on screen or not. Because sometimes, for whatever reason, maybe that's what you want, and now it's an option available to you. Arbiter Stein, this is the low-high projectile game. They both recover quicker, which is good because they're very death on block. Like even from like a decent block distance away, most characters can still punish it. So that's good. That helps Testament. Nostrovia, this is the succubus super. The initial first hit of the move now basically juggles the enemy higher up. So if it hits raw, it shouldn't affect much, but in like combos and stuff, it may lead to potentially more combo potential. I don't know. We'll find out. But yeah, for Testament, this is mostly big wins. I think Testament is eating very well after this patch. And there you have it. So a lot of big character changes, yes, but the biggest thing is definitely the universal changes, right? The changes to Roman canceling, potentially all the new combo values from that, all the air combat stuff, like you should be able to get much more involved juggles in the air, the fact that everyone can dash cancel just about everything unless you're a poor slow boy like Potemkin. The universal changes are the real story here, and the character-specific changes, for the most part, I think are very strong. Some are a little like, why? I don't get it. Maybe it'll make more sense when we have the patch live. I don't know. But as it stands, I think the Season 2 patch is a very strong patch, and I'm looking forward to it. So if you watch the whole video start to finish, if you leave a like, that'd be fantastic. And otherwise, well, I guess we'll wait for the patch. So when the patch hits, we'll have the visual guide, all the big changes that are cool and exciting. I'll go through all of them for every character again. So it'll probably be a long video like this one is. So look forward to that. And of course, all the guides, combos, and everything coming in Season 2 future for Guilty Gear Strive. But other than that, we're at the end of the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well. And go out and play some Guilty Gear.